Ladies and gentlemen, Outfit Wars came to a close about a week ago now, and to a certain extent, it feels like a big old weight has been lifted off a lot of our shoulders. It was intense, it was exciting, and it was also about as drama-filled as the family Thanksgiving dinner when the in-laws decide to get together that one time a year and Uncle Bob insults Auntie Barbara. And part of me just wanted to say, you know what, that was kind of eventful, but it's time to move on to new things. But being a caster for the event and a community contributor as such, I feel like that's a big old cop-out and incredibly irresponsible on my behalf. A discussion simply needs to happen, and some precedents need to be set to avoid Outfit Wars being a big waste of time. So, let's dive in. G'day there once again viewers, this is your mate Kamikaze78 here, and today guys, we've got a lot to unpack regarding the February to March 2021 Outfit Wars cycle. We're going to go over the good, the bad, and the ugly. And look, being honest guys, I've been sitting here for a while wondering where the hell do I start. This is also the second time that I've recorded this video. There's no denying that this Outfit Wars season wasn't a smooth sailing event from the get-go, and there's no denying that the developers have a lot of work cut out for them when it comes to future iterations and seasons before we can officially come out of this alpha status. And there's no denying that the Planetside 2 community has never been one that has shied away from its fair share of drama. The Outfit Wars season really gave the community a lot of ammunition to work with throughout. You know, the obvious cross-faction collusion, outfits being banned mid-season, codes of conducts being erected mid-season, and some outfits getting easy rides to the finals due to no-shows throughout the qualifiers. Just a couple of examples of the page-turners that kept the Planetside 2 subreddit in full swing without fail. Some of the criticism was valid, some of it was just another way for players to take pot shots at the developers because that's the meta nowadays. But the chaos has settled, and things have simmered down, emotions have tempered out. I think it's time we take a good, long, hard look at what took place during this season and approach this as critically and as objectively as possible. Look at what happened here drama-free, celebrate some of the good stuff that happened, and really learn from the missteps that went down. And firstly, I do want to shed some light on what I think Outfit Wars did well this season, because there were some improvements that I feel are worth celebrating. For one, and for me the most important, was the way in which qualifying was handled this season. It was a huge improvement for me, and for multiple reasons. For one, keeping qualifying on Desolation itself felt a lot more relevant to the kind of content that Outfit Wars was trying to create. Over the previous couple of seasons, Outfit Wars qualifying has been done during live server performance. Like, you know, you went out and captured bases to accrue resources, and that would determine what rank you would end up in Outfit Wars for the finals. But that felt really irrelevant. You know, we know that Desolation gameplay differs very much from live server gameplay, so by qualifying on a live server environment then having to go to Desolation to compete in a completely different field, it made the qualifiers feel very disconnected. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for, disconnected. It just wasn't quite together. It didn't mesh very well. So that's one element that I think the qualifiers improved upon. It also improved upon the live server culture. I know there are some people out there who simply couldn't care less about Outfit Wars, so when all these outfits started going incredibly sweaty on the live servers and doing some pretty malicious stuff to ensure their placements in the Outfit Wars finals in the last previous seasons, it only really solidified that opinion kind of further. It just wasn't a fun experience to be a part of when you were playing Planetside 2 at its core. So overall, qualifying this season was handled much better, and I think the devs really made a step in the right direction on that front to ensure that, you know, it was a more fun experience for everyone involved. But qualifying aside, the additional time on the field with a longer season also meant that outfits had more opportunities to play on the map and work out some interesting strategies and tactics. You know, it was fun watching from an observer perspective to see tactics evolve over the season as outfits kind of learned what did and what didn't work for them and how they could utilize all the game's mechanics to create strategies that really brought them home the victory. You know, whether that be Rally's quick response base stealing kind of playstyle that was simply an order watch, or Turath's almost iconic fortress that was built up every game in the same spot. There was a lot of creativity at play here. You know, it was interesting seeing Colossus tanks even start making appearances for aerial dominance. You know, this kind of evolution of tactics over the season was something I found personally really interesting to watch, and the longer season really did pay dividends in that front. And above all else, when a game was full of players and everyone on the field was playing with the intent of playing for the gold, with playing for the win, then the fighting was some of the best Planetside 2 action we could have asked for. 3 factions fighting tooth and nail, trying to outsmart one another and time their moves correctly to bring home the victory. There were some truly epic Planetside 2 moments on display, and being in the hot seat was a truly amazing experience. To all the outfits who played fairly and with the intent of winning, I thank you for creating a very entertaining season of Outfit Wars from a gameplay perspective. But this also nicely segues the conversation into the first big old elephant in the room that has continued to sit in the spotlight since the mode was first announced way back when: the format. Now, those of you who have been around for a while know that I am a fan of the format because to me, it is Planetside 2. And Planetside 2 has always shined above the rest when it's paved its own way, when it's been its own thing and been unique in its own right. But that's not to say the mode and the way it's laid out currently has its problems. I'm not going to sit here and fight tooth and nail claiming that it's perfect, because it isn't. There's room for kingmaking to take place, and there's room for double teams to emerge. But that is the inherent experience that comes from the core of the Planetside formula, and that is why it makes sense to me that the development team wants to make this their flagship official quote-unquote competitive event. If you hold an officially endorsed event that is designed to represent your game on a more competitive level, then you want it to kind of represent the core gameplay that players will experience on the day-to-day basis. But that leaves us with the following question: how can a mode that leaves so much room and even encouragement for double teams and quote-unquote kingmaking be competitive at its core? And that word, competitive, it's been a buzzword of choice, the tip of the spear per se, for every single Reddit thread or conversation piece that I've seen so far, either for or against this mode. What's interesting to me is that the dictionary definition of competition is the activity or condition of striving to gain or win something by defeating or establishing superiority over others. So, by the core definition of competition, everything we do in Planetside 2 is a competitive experience at its core. Pulling a max, hashing a base, air-to-ground spamming with a Banshee, working on your IVI performance in a skillful way, farming with a Beetlejuice, hell, pulling an orbital strike. By the core definition, that is just actively striving to gain a victory over your opponent via some form of force multiplication, whether it be none or all of it in the world. Henceforth, it is competitive in nature. But then again, we have a collection of rule sets within the Planetside 2 community that bans a lot of these assets to create an outlet where players can demonstrate a high skill level in certain aspects of the game, which really brings us to an important point to consider here: the element of context. In the world of gaming, the context of what is and isn't really competitive differs between different communities and metas and even mindsets within that community. Take the Battle Royale formula, for example. There have been multi-million-dollar esports events that have been pitted as the height of esports competition in recent years. But the amount of king-making and double-teaming or third-partying that can take place in those matches is nothing short of insane. There's no code of conduct in a Battle Royale game that states that if you come across a player fighting another player, then you can't join in on that player. Or even if you want to take it up to teams, same situation applies. The amount of third partying that exists there is insane. And if the Planetside 2 community had anything to say about that kind of format of those competitive events, then they would have an absolute field day. Oh wait, that already happened. And the title didn't last more than a few months. But in the Battle Royale world, that is an established part of the meta, where you really need to consider who you engage, and if you do engage, dealing with the engagement fast enough to not give additional opponents an opportunity to take advantage of your focus on your original targets. The difference between Battle Royale games, however, and Planetside 2 is that server-based politics don't exist in the world of Battle Royale. There's no tags or player names to tell you who you're versing, so say a third team hears a nearby firefight breaking out and decides to get involved, any kind of king-making that does take place by that team joining the fight isn't personal. It's based on an assessment of the situation to work out what the best approach is to take out both teams and come out on top with the better loot. Now, when played right, Outfit Wars can offer this sort of experience. We've seen it in action plenty of times. The gold finals for Connery this season between Recursion, Goblin Tribes and Rally was an example of the format being played in a fair way with some of the best action we've seen so far from the format. No politics was influencing the decision making from those outfits. It was down to the wire, and it was all about who had map control and who could take advantage of certain map control elements. The same kind of mentality that we see in those Battle Royale games applies to Planetside too. You apply pressure to a faction that is leading the race, but at the same time you need to make sure that the other faction doesn't make a play that bumps you out of contention. And when everyone on the field understands this, you have a competitive environment within the context of the Planetside 2 core experience. And I'm talking about the 1v1v1 format here. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Planetside 2's Outfit Wars mode right now is competitive from the perspective of pitting one faction against another and seeing who is best between the two. Because that's really not what this mode is trying to accomplish, in my opinion. It's trying to accomplish who can handle the Planetside formula the best in a more controlled environment. Now, in saying that, Planetside 2 is a sandbox game. Everyone here is going to have a different idea as to what competition in the game should look like on an official level. So of course, we're never going to agree unanimously. If someone could name one time in the game's history where the community did unanimously agree on something, then you deserve an internet cookie. But I don't know if I've got any to spare, quite frankly. This is why the guys over at Planetside Battles do such a great job at diversifying this game's competitive scene, because they have things like, back in the day, they had the Farmers League, and they had Server Smash, Lane Smash, a whole bunch of different competitive formats that give players of certain skill sets a chance to shine. But just because this is what the developers are focusing on now doesn't mean that they don't have ideas for other stuff to come around in the future. You know, on Shockter's stream a while back, about a week ago now actually, Rel made note of how the idea of bringing in 1v1 modes to Outfit Wars in different formats wasn't exactly out of the question, and it would be something that they'd be even keen to explore in the long run. The issue getting in the way of that now, and the reason that it's been 6 months since we saw the last season of Outfit Wars and the format remains the same, is because there's tech getting in the way. What people need to understand is that the switch just can't simply be flipped for these 1v1 formats to be officially supported. The game from the get-go, guys, has always been built on the back end of there being 3 factions present on the map. You can't just build a new map and then build some tech instantly that says, okay, there's only now 2 factions. That's not how this game's back end works. And hell, if you were to do a 1v1 style format in the long run, how would you handle 2 outfits from the same faction going against each other? Let's keep in mind that the core tech of this game is designed to punish you for hurting your allies. So if it was one NC outfit versus another NC outfit, which, let's be honest, is not different from the live server experience anyway, but you get the idea, it would just be who could get weapons locked the fastest. Which, I admit, would be a fun tournament, but, you know, I digress. So it's not a case of the developers just ignoring people's suggestions. They do want to do this sort of stuff, but we have to understand that this is complicated stuff, and Planetside 2 has a very unique backend that makes support for this stuff not as simple as just a few simple adjustments. But I digress. We are this far in the video and we're still on the format, and I want to loop us back to a point I made earlier about how, when played right, Outfit Wars offers an experience that is driven very little by kingmaking and more so by each outfit playing with the sole intention of simply winning based on action, not on politics. We sadly can't make a video like this without talking about what happens when politics steers the results. And I think we all know what match I'm alluding to here. The infamous R18 vs Pigs vs Recursion matchup. I wasn't there to cast the match myself, but for those who haven't seen it yet, I'll let this clip from Commander Sirius do the talking here.
Right on, Sulfur. Okay, this is a little bit blatant here, NC. Pale Tiger.
And yeah, you're saying that right. TR and NC running amok with each other, not shooting. Shockwaves were sent through the community, and it was clear that a precedent had to be set after this match so that this would never happen again. Now I get it. If I was in one of those 2 outfits, and I saw that I would have to go through the same kind of slapping that I did the week prior, due to what could only be described as a rankings glitch, then yeah, I'd be a bit upset too. But by the same token, I'd also look to use this as an opportunity to improve, you know, win legitimately and feel fucking awesome about it. And yeah, getting beaten bad by Recursion the first time around, that had to be demoralizing, but I think Commander Sirius wrapped it all up pretty well in the response video that he made to the whole situation, where he stated something along the lines of, using the excuse of calling it Alliance or saying that we'll just bring more dudes in the way of Planetside 2 is really not quite right, Chief. Because an alliance between two factions is not an alliance at all, that's just collusion, malicious collusion. Rally, a collection of outfits merging under one banner, who are then restricted by the same player count restrictions that everyone else is, that's an alliance, and they're playing by the rules of the tournament. If you break the rules by effectively doubling your force by just separating that force across two factions, that's just cross-faction collusion that breaks the spirit of the game. Personally, I found the whole thing really unsportsmanlike and a big letdown as a spectator for the match. You can try and justify it any way you want, but it's a way to kill what could be an exciting mode and just an exciting matchup overall when fought tooth and nail. And I want to clarify that I only have a problem with predetermined collusion before a match. 2v1s are always going to happen in this kind of mode. It's natural for the game flow and for Planetside 2, and quite frankly, if you're leading by a significant point margin too early on in an Outfit Wars match, of course you're going to get 2v1'd. That's a part of the strategy and it's a part of the tactics that we saw emerge throughout this mode, and it's what makes the final stages of the mode exciting to me. An example that we saw of a really brutal 2v1 taking place was the Emerald Gold match, where 2RAF, K and 1 warp gated 69 KD out of the gate, and that wasn't necessarily a case of predetermined collusion. It was just a case of two outfits identifying a key threat based on previous match performance and decided to both play out a similar strategy by chance. And that is going to happen. But 69KD created a really interesting match that had a strong chance for comeback at the end of the game. I seriously thought that they had a real chance of bringing that home. It's also really demoralizing to go against when you're in that position of being warp gated out of the gate and you're 10 minutes in with 0 points to your name. It is a harsh reality of the mode, but it also creates for some awesome comeback stories as well that we have seen play out in the past, and it's what makes the mode exciting to me as well. But these epic moments only ever happen when people play to win individually. People aren't going to sit there and praise you for fucking over an outfit because they are a skill ball. That's just not good sportsmanship overall. If you do just want to play to fuck one outfit up and ruin their tournament, it kills the spirit of the game, both in Outfit Wars and on the live servers. And maybe this is a problem that needs to be addressed on a wider community level beyond the confines of Outfit Wars, but that is something that will take us ages to unpack and isn't for this video here today. But anyway, that kind of leads us to one of the final things that we should probably look at here, the unspoken code of conduct. It was a response piece that Rel posted soon after the match that took place on Connery, and some looked at it and laughed, you know, saying, dude, this is just an element of the sandbox, chill out, or how do you police something like this? When is it a part of the game, or when is it blatant collusion? But for me, I think this was an important step that had to be taken after what happened. And I gotta put my hands to Rel, who took the time to really hit the nail on the head without pissing about. It needed to be said. A precedent needed to be set. And if this kind of collusion took place again, at this level of severity, then there would need to be repercussions in return, because otherwise you set the precedent that this is okay to do. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter what you, me, or any of us think about this. Some may think that we're taking this too seriously. Some may think that it wasn't serious enough. Rel has stated that this is the kind of behavior that is not acceptable and will be dealt with in the future in kind. And that is something I can respect. The devs are standing up for their vision of the mode and of the format, and by having their official code of conduct that can be referenced, it means that people can't play dumb when they're called out for doing really silly stuff. Yeah, sure, there's nothing stopping you from running naked through the street because you like the free air on your junk, but that doesn't mean you won't get in trouble for it because it's a well-known law. Again, by setting this precedent, we can ensure that the appropriate response can be taken out as per the offense, and people can't play victim when something is done to stop them from doing it again. Now, of course, there is always going to be the everlasting question of, at what point do you police it? And that is a difficult question to answer. If an outfit goes through a really demoralizing experience and makes a claim of collusion, and an outfit cops a penalty for that, then it sets a precedent that outfits can complain about their results and have their results stripped away just because someone whinged, which sets up a really disingenuous approach to the whole tournament. And as much as I want to believe that things won't devolve into that kind of bullshittery, we all get salty sometimes. Emotions run high, especially within our community, and sometimes people can weaponize whatever they want to make a point out of. So when it comes to enforcing this code of conduct, it's really going to have to come down to raw facts and raw, obvious examples. Again, the Pigs versus Recursion versus R18 matchup, I'm surprised Pigs and R18 weren't banned from the tournament for that display. And I really think that any action that results from this code of conduct needs to be backed by true evidence, as obvious or as hidden as it is. But there is one more thing I really want to hit on the head here when it comes to outfit wars. And quite frankly, we may get a bit spicy here, and I'm sorry, but sometimes you just gotta say it like it is. I've seen countless calls from those who really despise outfit wars for the mode just to be ditched, left in the dust, never worked on or seen again. Let me tell you why that's a bad idea for the game, and why it's a toxic mentality to take on board. It comes down to this simple fact. The developers have spent years working on this content. We may not like to admit it, but they have. And they have spent a ton of money paying the salaries of the people making the content. So if we as a community look at outfit wars and continue to meme about, ruin the mode, and send abuse to the developers for taking this route as opposed to working on other content, then how is it going to look for investors or the publisher? It's going to result in less money spent on the game because, well, it isn't making that return because people are just memeing about with it, which means less dev power, which means less game. That's bad for everyone. We may sit here like salty veterans and say, oh, I hate this fucking game, rada. But no, we all log in on a day-to-day basis, week in, week out as well, because there is nothing else like it and we love what this game can do from time to time. And yeah, we can all sit here and argue that by giving the devs obscene amounts of shit that we eventually get our point across and maybe we'll see those other initiatives worked on that we want. Newsflash, the more we keep reiterating that something is gonna die, the more we throw hard dev work in the trash because something isn't perfect out of the box and it doesn't specifically cater to what your perfect vision of Planetside 2 is. We are killing any opportunity for the content that you want to be worked on by making every attempt to maliciously throw an idea in the bin. I get it. Outfit wars isn't for everyone. And I also get that yes, there are other initiatives that probably could have seen some focus before Outfit Wars was even being conceptualized. But it comes down to the fact that if Outfit Wars dies now, that is a significant amount of dev time being thrown down the drain, and throwing dev time down the drain does nothing but kill the game's momentum. Look at all the stage 1 elements of this game. Hossen, resources, implants at one point, vehicles, factions like NSO. By telling the developers that Outfit Wars needs to be dumped just leaves it with all of the other unfinished content that's in the game right now. And personally, I'm getting sick and tired of seeing unfinished content. So seeing the developers doubling down on a piece of content that they want to succeed, that's a good thing in my opinion, because it means that they can then tick that off, leave it for the time being, and work on finishing the next piece of content. Yes, we can all be salty, but we all need to settle the fuck down, in my personal opinion. Game developers are allowed to have a creative vision for a title that doesn't take into consideration the opinion of every single insert anonymous Reddit username player here. There are very few little games out there that I know of that succeed on the premise of player feedback alone. Yes, player feedback is a thing. It's a joy of gaming in the 2020s because we have so many ways in which we can get in contact with the developers to share our feedback. But by yelling at the developer saying, oh, this is shit and you should delete it straight away, why aren't you catering to me? That invalidates your feedback almost immediately. By providing constructive feedback where you can, and simply sitting back and letting the game develop itself when you can't, is a much healthier way to approach feedback for a game like this, especially when the developers are taking on board a bunch of player feedback. Some of you guys may not see it, but Planetside 2's development team is very transparent and takes on board a lot of the suggestions that we see. It's just a very technically difficult game to develop for, based on its, quite frankly, spaghetti code engine. But despite a slightly ranty end to the video there, guys, I hope you did find yourselves enjoying it. If you did, a backhanding of the like button goes a long way. And, well, if you find yourself enjoying the content and you want to see more of it, consider backhanding the subscribe button as well. Turns out the majority of my viewers aren't subscribed. So, guys, there's one way to fix that by keeping up to date with all content that we release in the future. Leave some comments down below on what you thought on this video and my thoughts. I'd be interested to hear whether or not I am completely out of whack here, or whether or not I'm on the ball. And as always, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good one.